Good morning and welcome to ASL's HR in 10.
At 10.
I'm Jason Perry,
And I'm Kimberly Bradshaw.
and on a Thursday morning at 10 o'clock, in just 10 minutes, where we can, we try and keep you up to date with the goings on in HR. The downside, I ought to say, is, and I'm going to blame Kimberly totally, Kimberly can talk a little, and we have been known to go over the 10 minutes, once or
Pot
twice.
kettle.
So what shall we talk about, Kimberly? What's going on in HR? What's caught your attention?
What has really struck me this week is reward and recognition. There was I can't remember who it was by now, but there was a piece of research that said 47% of workers felt that the praise they got at work was an empty gesture.
Yes. Lots of talk and not much walk, I think, is the.
Yes, but why is that? They're obviously getting praise, but what I don't understand is what would make it feel like an empty gesture. Is it just a throwaway comment? Is it a comment is you did that really well, which is so much better than what you normally
Yes.
do, sort of taken away or
Do you know, I think that I'm going to be really bold and throw out employee engagement.
really? What a
Yeah.
shocker.
I think a lot of this comes down to culture, and there's some good in this number as I see it, because what it tells me is that companies are getting better at doing because they're trying to roll out a practice of doing it. So make sure you tell your people when they're appreciated. And they're kind of going, oh, by the way, thanks, or here's a £50 bonus, or whatever it is. But they're not showing they mean it.
Yes.
And perhaps that's the early stages of a change. Am I being too optimistic there?
No, I think you're right, and certainly I think it 60-ish% of the leaders felt that they recognised great work. So things are moving in the right direction, but I do think we need to get to the bottom of
The more
why.
uncomfortable part, I've just realised the word I've picked is inappropriate there. The more concerning part I have here is that about a third of them said that when they received recognition, it was done in an uncomfortable way.
Yeah, now there's two ways of looking at that. It could be how the leader is delivering it, but it could be how the receiver receives it. There are people that are very uncomfortable with any form of praise. And it's about leaders understanding how best to deliver news.
Yes. I mean, words are very difficult. When you have a word like uncomfortable, I'm thinking, does that mean it was over recognised and very public and made somebody feel uncomfortable, or was the manner in which it was done inappropriate and that made them feel uncomfortable? And there's a lack of data here, but
a good topic to look at because it's really important, and it is one part of, as you said, employee engagement.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say that essentially it's simple, and I think people often overcomplicate what should be terribly simple. And what should happen is somebody saying, Kimberly, your HR in 10 broadcast this week was really good. I really enjoyed it. Great work. Now, that in itself is enough in many cases to make somebody feel valued. But actually, by the way, that was great. I've done your £50 bonus. I'm off to a meeting now. Doesn't necessarily sound as good. But we're also coupled with the point where, I'm sorry to throw it in there, cost of living. We are in this crisis, and actually showing that you recognise and you understand the challenges. And one of the best things I think employers can do is make use of the kind of voucher schemes we've got, where you can do a non-cash voucher, which isn't taxable, and put something directly in someone's pocket that they can go and use.
Yes, I think that's a really good idea. And, certainly bonuses aren't necessarily the way, despite the cost of living, because, if it's a bit, by rote, isn't it? It doesn't feel that's something more personal, like a voucher for a spa afternoon, or that might be quite expensive depending on where you live, but something that is tailored towards that person that is
But
a special treat.
yes, but often the simple thank you goes a long, long way and makes people feel
Yeah.
appreciated. And I wonder whether or not we have enough of that as we're all so very busy.
Exactly. And I think the reason this is important, and the survey did say that, is that those that don't feel recognised, their sense of belonging drops by
Massively.
88%, and their desire to stay for another year drops by
Yes.
82%. So
Yes.
getting it right could make a huge difference to
Yeah.
turnover rates.
Particularly again when we're looking at problems with attraction and retention.
Mm,
Absolutely.
mm,
It's a little bit of effort and a little bit of focus to just mean you care rather than try and show people that you
mm,
care.
mm.
And that I think on its own would make all the difference in the world.
Yes, I was in a meeting yesterday, and somebody, it was a networking group, and one of the members of the group was saying how their CEO every week goes and spends a little bit of time in each department. It's
Hmm.
like that American program about undercover boss or something,
Yes.
only they do it openly. And what a difference that makes to people, just to show that their CEO really does care about them.
Yes. Yes. Probably doesn't, but he works really hard to show it. But bit cynical there. Sorry. Look, while we're talking about bonuses, I can't help thinking, just looking, where are we? 9th of March. In just a few weeks, there's another cash change that people really ought to be aware of, isn't there?
Yes, all the statutory rates changed,
Yes.
but obviously the key one being the national minimum wage.
Yes. National living wage goes up by 9.7% from the beginning of April
Yeah,
to £10.42 an hour. So if you haven't got that one under control yet, it's something you need to pay a
yeah.
little bit of attention to, I'd
You
say.
said living then, did you mean minimum?
I actually meant the national living wage goes up to
Oh, right.
10.42.
Yeah,
Um, the mixed terminology we've had in recent years seems to complicate it further,
yeah,
but that's for anyone over 23 years old.
yeah,
There are rates for 21 to 22-year-olds and 18 to 20-year-olds and so on. But the key one to focus on is that
yeah,
£10.42 has gone up by 9.7%.
yeah.
So big
Which is
thing to
a,
pay
you
attention
know,
at if you haven't got it under control already on your employment processes.
exactly. But obviously with that change will also come changes to, statutory maternity pay, statutory sick
Indeed.
pay. Um, I
Yep.
can't imagine they'll be necessarily at the same rates of increase, but who knows?
Fortunately, almost all of those are now dealt with by modern payroll systems. But
Exactly.
you still need to talk to your people and tell them what's happening and
Yeah,
what's coming. So
yeah,
worth some attention.
definitely.
Shall we've still got some of our 10 minutes left. Shall we squeeze in something about remote working?
I think that's a good idea because we haven't talked about it for a while, and it's been a real, up and down, hasn't it?
Yes,
It's the
there are
best thing
those who think
ever, and
it's lowers productivity. There are those that think it's great.
yeah,
And there's something quite interesting going on. We've heard so much from companies wanting to get people back into the workplace
mm,
because they feel it's the right thing to do, often without evidence. But there's something, I would say, sneakily happening under the radar, isn't there?
yes, and I think what it is, although as you said, there are a lot of companies calling for return to the office, there's a lot of companies. I think it was a third of business
Mm,
leaders
yes,
said that they're using remote workers specifically in response to the labour shortages at the moment,
yes,
and that it's really showing positive new ways of working.
yeah, yeah. Huge improvements there.
Yeah,
And I think just looking at the dynamic change, that would not be happening if it was not effective. And, we've got the people who are concerned, and there are genuine concerns, but something I've heard you say so very many times is it's down to management skills.
mm,
Managing somebody remotely isn't harder, it's just different. And
mm.
you have to equip the managers with the right skills to make it work, don't we?
Absolutely. And I think what was also important about that is that they said um, only 8% of organisations felt that moving to a remote model had a negative impact on
Yes.
staff performance.
Yes.
So, that's 92% feel that there is a positive impact on staff performance.
Yes.
And again, as we've said already, it's all about employee engagement.
Indeed, indeed. And we've said numerous times, my view, I think your view, is this is going to be driven so much by the market and not by legislation or that type of thing. And we've got this point literally right now. People are responding because of skills gaps and going, do you know what, I need to try that more.
Yeah.
And it's here to stay to some degree as a result.
Definitely.
Kimberly, this is HR in 10, and guess what?
We've done it in 10.
No, we're over time. But it's HR in about 11 to 12, I think. So it's been lovely. Thank you so much. And we got all the technology working today after a little blip last week. So thank you so much. And we will be back same time next week.